Black Scully on check. Got Black T on check. Welcome to another Marvel episode. It's been so long since I've been able to do Governor of College Football. I feel like before we get into what's on today's docket, I must update you all with everything that's kind of going on. So I've decided to split my time between 4 shows a week at CFB Nation, which are 30 minutes apiece, my own show, which is College Football Nation, and then also give you guys an hour twice a week. So we'll be live Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays just for my shows. College Football Nation, 6 p.m., and then Governor of College Football will be live at still our show, Mondays and Wednesdays. I feel like I am the undisputed king of the off-season. Off-season is my time period, bro. I feel like it's so easy for everybody to talk college football during the season, but what about now? So I'm super excited for that. So like I said, just slight schedule changes. Make sure you guys go subscribe on YouTube at CFB Nation, and then make sure you guys are already subscribed here on Governor College Football. So I'm still live 5 times a week. It's just been a little bit split up, and actually I'm live more than that because we do Overreaction Monday twice a week, and I'm at least on one of those episodes, if not on both of those episodes, and then we do College Football Showdown every Thursday at 2 p.m. And then me and Moon would like to also do the CFB Late Show. So we're going to be live plenty. CFB Nation got you locked for this offseason, or the thing that a lot of people call the offseason. We won't really deal with it, but what's on today's docket? I'm so excited to be here. I feel like this show is the long-form show for myself. I get to just ramble for an hour, and I love it. We're going to talk a lot about tampering. We know that Dabo Swinney feels a certain type of way about everything that happened with the Ferrelli kid situation, and he absolutely has a gripe, a legitimate gripe. I think it needs to be talked about more. I think it's interesting how Fran Brown looked at these type of situations, which is what I identify with, because I believe me and Fran Brown grew up in similar environments, volatile, hostile environments, and then you got the way Dabo said, we're going to report you to the authorities. Call it what you want, but it is what it is. Also, we're going to talk about Curt Cignetti a little bit, and what I like to call Curt Cignetti American-made, and I'm super excited talk about Curt Cignetti. Be sure to comment in the chat. You want to talk about anything I'm talking about. I will try my very best to look over to my left. I think it'll be you guys is right to make sure that I do read your comments. So yeah, we're gonna talk about Curt Cignetti. Quite a great deal today. Also on 3 top 25 reaction. The original one, not the one that they did post the national championship. We're gonna do the original one that they did that came out. It was pretty hilarious. Some things I thought that they nailed. Some of the other things something that I talked about quite a bit a season ago, last off season, was collective bargaining, and how I believe that it is almost a requirement at the college football level, only because, and really collegiate level altogether, because you have these people who are signed to contracts and they're supposed to be with legitimate NIL organizations, but a lot of time what it end up being is, well, where's the student part in this? You still got to enroll in school. You still got to attend classes, unless you're Carson Beck, who's already graduated a few years ago. Not sure how that quite works. Maybe he just take any class that he wants to. Not sure about that. So I believe we do need collective bargaining at the collegiate level. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly happens there. And then we're going to recap the season that was. 2025 was an outstanding season for college football. There was a time period like week 0 to like week 5 or week 6, maybe even week 7. Because I forgot when we had the miracle in Philadelphia when Temple really had Navy on the ropes, and then Navy broke and was able to win the game. So there were weeks I'm like, yo, we're kind of on par with the 2007 season. 2007 is still a GOAT, but it definitely gave us that type of feel. Governor College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two great
CJ
defensive
on
minds.
the
They have to be better on that side of the So excited to be back. Well, I really haven't gone anywhere because I do shows every week. Like I told you guys, a Reaction Monday on Mondays and Tuesdays, as well as College Football Showdown, as well as College Football Nation, which is my show on the CFB Nation platform. But it feels good to be back here. It really do. And I promise you, I got you guys Mondays and Wednesdays every week. 2-hour shows, but make sure you guys subscribe to those other platforms. So we're going to talk about into the news as we always do, some of the latest college football news. In case you missed it, I know the season just ended. Maybe you're not following the news as much as you have been. Well, don't worry, I got you. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Arthur Smith, recently hired as offensive coordinator at Ohio State. And I got a few things about it. I don't believe he's had a collegiate role since like 2010. He was Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator. He's with the Falcons as well once upon a time. And to me, it's one of those things where I doubted Ohio State before, and the Matt Patricia hiring, I was like, this is weird. There are some nuances that you have to learn with college, and there are some nuances that you have to learn with college. Like, one of the biggest nuance you have to learn with college, pertain to like the comparisons between the NFL, the hash marks are much wider at the collegiate level. So if you're on the short side of the field and you bunch to the left, well, you have more space than you do at the NFL level. So if you're running some type of flood concept on that left side with all that space, it's a lot more to it. You have a lot more space to cover from a defensive perspective. So I doubted Ryan Day last year. I will not doubt him this year. Matt Patricia did an outstanding job as the defensive coordinator there. And then what you're going to get with Arthur Smith, I think a lot of time, when you start to bring NFL talent into the collegiate arena, a lot of things start to happen. You start to see real cadences happen. You call it NFL-style plays. Thus, it will really help you propel yourself to the NFL because you're in NFL-style systems. Of course, there's slight adjustments to the collegiate game, but I think this is an outstanding hire. I think this is a win-win for both, not only Ohio State and getting Arthur Smith. I think it's an outstanding move for him as well. What does he want to do? Because Ohio State has been a pipeline for people to kind of go wherever they want to go. Like a la Brian Hartline, he just became the head coach at USF. So I'm sure Arthur Smith wants to get back into head coaching. So if it's head coaching at the collegiate level, well, then so be it. So it's going to be outstanding. I can't wait to see what this system looks like. A high-quality guy, quarterback in Julian Sand, really accurate. We saw that coming to fruition this year, and I think he's just going to build upon that. Arthur Smith is known for his play-action play. He's known for his utilization of his tight end, so I think it's going to be exciting to see. So Arthur Smith, I think, is a great hire for Ryan Day. If you doubted Ryan Day like I did last year when they hired Matt Patricia, I think we should all shut up on this one and just say, okay, great hire, and keep it moving, right? Texas Longhorns quarterback Arch Manning undergoes foot surgery. Go ahead and get that out the way now, because I believe Texas is going to have an outstanding season this year. I said this on my show, College Football Nation, yesterday, that I believe that, when you think about teams in the Big Ten and teams in the SEC, I think what comes to the forefront of your mind are those Big Ten teams. Like you're thinking about Indiana and the outstanding portal that they just had, or you're thinking about Ohio State and what they're able to do each and every year to be able to duplicate the success that they had. And you're thinking about a team like Oregon, who probably has the best quarterback room in the country and continues to get myriads of talent year in and year out. So when you start to think about the SEC kind of in the back of your mind, you say, okay, I think Texas is going to be there. The Relique Browns that they was able to get via the portal, the Hollywood Smothers they was able to get via the portal. Cam Coleman has an opportunity to propel himself. I know this sounds far-fetched to a lot of people, to a wide receiver one. He has a chance to do that. I know it's a foregone conclusion that Jeremiah Smith will be wide receiver number one, but I think Cam Coleman, he's played with Peyton Thorne. No disrespect to Peyton Thorne. He's played with Jackson Arnold. No disrespect to them. I think Arch Manning is a better quarterback than both of those gentlemen. And then that system, and Steve Sarkisian is one of the most brilliant minds in all of college football. He will find creative ways to get Cam Coleman the ball. So I'm looking at this Texas team. LSU just had the number one portal class. So, of course, I'm looking at Lane Kiffin and what they're doing there. And, of course, Kirby Smart, as long as he's the head coach of Georgia, you will have to believe that they're in the talk. So he's having just like a preventative procedure. I don't know if you guys ever worked in food service, but when you have fryers and things of that nature and deep fryers, they come and do what's called PMs, and it's only just preventative maintenance. Just so, hey, I know you guys haven't had any fires, but to try to prevent a future fire, this is what we want to do. So Arch Manning, I know people have been highly critical of him. My partner in crime, Jalen Wilson, on the show that we do every Thursday at 2 p.m., College Football Showdown, he's not the biggest fan of Arch Manning. He says everything that you guys want Arch Manning to be, he thinks that CJ Carr is. I say give him time, because there were times that Arch Manning didn't play well early in the season. He played fantastic, phenomenal during the end of the season. But also Steve Sarkisian got his butt kicked a couple times as a play caller, and their inability to run and create rushing lanes for their running backs and the offensive line. I think all of those needs and areas were addressed. And to have the target and Cam Coleman, I know they're ready for this season. USC Trojans hired Gary Patterson. What an outstanding hire. I think if you look across America, you see that analyst position. I always call it the analyst position. You play pretty handsomely for the analyst position, but I've always considered that like a sabbatical. Like, what do you want to do? Like Mike Bobo, offensive coordinator at Georgia, was the analyst after the debacle with him and Brian Harsin down in Auburn. He took the analyst position, and it is really just a lot of film work, figuring out other teams' tendencies, maybe things that we can do versus other teams, but it's just like a college football sabbatical. We've been coaching for a very long time. Let's go ahead and look at the analytical side of things and figure out how to make things better. Gary Patterson had done that. Mike Bobo done that before he came the head coach. I want to shout out my dog, Dante, Coach Sale, who called this one years ago about Gary Patterson going to USC. Huge fan of USC. I know a lot of people don't like Lincoln Riley. Hell, some of the people in our group, CFB Nation, not the biggest Lincoln Riley fans. Well, I am. I think part of that is I'm a air raid junkie. I love the offense. I have my own air raid playbook, so I think a lot of that stems from that. But you go get a defensive mind, a guy with a myriad of coaching experience at the head coaching level and the ability to teach defenses. Gary Patterson is one of those guys. When you think of the evolution of defenses, the defense he was able to install at TCU many years ago. Yes, this is an outstanding hire. He's going to teach. Lincoln Riley has done an outstanding job recruiting. So how do these pieces fit in that puzzle? And I can't wait to see around spring camp, what are they looking like? And I think it's interesting to me. Also, Will Stein. Talk about him a little bit. Love the hire for Kentucky. I think a lot of you guys know I'm a huge Mark Stoops fan, so I wasn't the happiest about Mark Stoops being fired, but I guess the Louisville game is what put him out. When you think about Kentucky football prior to Stoops being there, you probably think about the couch years, but other than that, it's not a lot that you think about. And Mark Stoops, I think, though he never got to the pinnacle of success that we wanted, but hey, you guys are going to respect us because we can punch you in the mouth and force you, not to make it to the playoffs like they did with Ole Miss back in 2024. So that's going to be interesting. He's been at it. He's been working. Your first year of head coaching at this level will be a lot of fundraising because the guys that are on that team that are still there that haven't entered the portal aren't your guys. You didn't recruit them. You need to figure out how you will best utilize them in your system. It is a lot of fundraising. Talked to Zach Kitley during American Media Days. Also went down to their fall camp and had even a further discussion with him about this. And he was like, it's just a lot of recruiting. You want to get guys that already know your system, to have them on your team so they can help you install the system when you have to do the fundraising that you have to do. Thank goodness this year, winter workouts are going on right now. The minute that spring camp starts, you have your depth chart. Unless some unforeseen withdrawal things, if you've been watching this show for a long time, I've been talking about withdrawals and they're going to be a potential problem later on. There's no late window portal. So when you look at it from that perspective, you get the idea that, okay, you have your roster, right? It's like the ending of Friday Night Lights. And some of the players that were going on to college or had graduated, you see the coach taking the magnetized strip off of the board, and then he's figuring out his roster. And that's exactly what Kentucky head coach Will Stein doing. He's hitting the recruiting trail, making sure he's getting the pieces that he needs. And then now, this is where the real work start. But he added 30 guys in the portal, include 4 4-star transfers. He's doing the work. It won't happen overnight, but we live in a microwave generation where it needs to happen overnight because we seen what that kid in Bloomington was able to do, and Curt Cignetti. Let's talk about Colorado a little bit. So Coach Prime in Colorado has implemented NIL-based discipline fines, right? Coach Sanders introduced conduct penalties, fines up to $5,000 deducted from NIL earnings, applies to tardiness, absences, rule violations, social media conduct, players banned from wearing former school gear at official activities. he compared that to a girl wearing their ex's, you know what I'm saying? He added 42 players, lost 37. That's how he operates. I think this is the thing that we learned about coaching this year, and I've been a high proponent and a high fan of this. I would rather have a disciplinarian as my head coach than a player's coach. I did not always feel that way. At the NFL level, hey, maybe the other way around. But you want that attention to detail guy. You want that sicko like Curt Cignetti, a guy that's really going to pay attention to what everything that's going on. We're going to do the work. Like, I was just looking at an Indiana winter workout from last year's winter camp, winter workout. I'm like, yo, they were putting the work in early. So that's what it's about. So I think you want to see a lot of coaches really try to tighten up. Billy Napier, I thought there were opportunities last year down in Gainesville. And the reason why he's probably gone down here, he wasn't as aggressive that he needed to be. There's a guy up in Louisville, Jeff Brom. He don't play that. He really don't. So if I am a program, I want a disciplinarian. I want somebody that's going to hold people accountable. And I think people are looking at what Cignetti does. We even seen a comparison. Hey, Curt Cignetti, everything we want a Coach Prime to be Curt Cignetti is. Interesting. I think it's an interesting take. I ain't mad at it. I don't necessarily disagree with it because I was around the JMU program before he went to Bloomington, right? I got credentials on the wall right now from JMU. I was season credentialed at JMU. So I got to see a lot of this guy. So when he says, Google me, I win, I believed it. So I think Curt Cignetti is going to lead the charge for disciplinarians. We saw our guy, Mario Cristobal, turn into someone else during the playoffs. It was laser focus, 1-0. Keep it moving. It was the accountability with the referees. It was the accountability with his players. Accountability with his players in post interviews. Hey, get over it. 1-0. Let's move on to the next one. I think we're going to start seeing this type of leadership. And this is the type of, when I was a manager at Royal Farms and I was the GM there and at Wawa, I wasn't a players type. I held everybody to the same standard. Don't care how cool we were. If you're late after 5 minutes because the company gives you 5 minutes, then you're going to get documented. You get 2 freebies, they're still documented. And after that, it's progressive discipline. And if you ran out of opportunities, you get fired. I don't care how good you were. I think that's the way programs need to be run. I 100% believe that. So let's go ahead and get to it. That was our answer to the news segment. Hopefully I caught you guys up with everything that's been going on in the wonderful world of college football. Speaking of the world of college football, it's coming back. It's coming back very soon. Shout out to my dog Moon, CFB Moon that is. And I can't wait for it. So let's get into this first segment. So we're going to talk about tampering quite a bit. It's something I talked about a lot on this show. So it's not familiar for anyone who's familiar with my approach to college football. In the offseason, I like to focus on those semantic type of things where we say, hey, this sport is outstanding during the fall. And it absolutely is. It's a pleasure to watch this game. And one of my favorite statements during the regular season and the playoff is, we are not worthy. You can search my Twitter profile and you will see that verbiage. 3 words. 4 words. We are not worthy. Right? You'll see it all the time, and I always say that. But from a semantic perspective, there are some things very wrong with college football, and it's almost like people are just waiting, hoping for something to happen. We need to put action behind it. I've said it long ago that we need a commission or a commissioner. Hey, Josh Payton's volunteered, and I think he's certainly, the amount of games he's seen, I think he's certainly worthy of it. Put a commission with them, guys that are going to hold people accountable. Forget your political affiliation, your school affiliation. Hey, bro, you break a rule, hey, man, you're going to get held accountable for it. I think that's what we need. So this tampering is not new. We remember spring, around April 12th, 2025, where Tennessee decided, hey, Nico Amaliva is no longer a part of the program. We're going to get rid of him. We need a quarterback. It's a late transfer window. Who are we going to get? There's not many quarterbacks. You wanted to get one in the earlier window, right? Josh Hoover was contacted, wasn't in a portal. TCU quarterback, he's now in Indiana. Also, Avery Johnson, quarterback at Kansas State. He was also contacted by Tennessee. These are all alleged, but I believe him 100%. And neither one of those players were in a portal. This is 100% poaching. It's 100% tampering. And that is the definition of tampering, right? No gray area. None of that. This is tampering. Also, we got Xavier Lucas situation with Wisconsin. Wisconsin had a funny feeling that he was illegally contacted by Miami, right? Poaching, tampering, whatever you want to call it. So they refused to allow him to enter the transfer portal because of it, right? He withdrew from the university. I believe that same day he was in Coral Gables and enrolled at Miami, right? this is 100% tampering, right? This is nothing new. We even seen players sign, like it's reported on sign him immediately. Darian Mensah, right? Leaving the Big Easy, right? To head to Durham without hesitation. But the funny thing is, how you get something is typically how you lose something. So now Duke is frustrated that he see a bigger bag and want to go play in Miami, right? Y'all offered the big bag from Tulane. Y'all did the same thing with Tulane, right? It got done to y'all. Now y'all want to take it to courts and all of that good stuff. Darian Mensah in the end was going to win the situation. Heads up, we will be talking about this situation much further in detail on Wednesday's episode of Governor of College Football. But, you know, that happened extremely fast. There had to be 1,000% poaching. He knew the number that he wanted. I think $8 million was the number, and it happened. That's tampering. That's poaching, right? And I think we have two schools of thoughts from it, right? Fran Brown, that head coach at Syracuse, he said it plainly. I ain't no B word. I ain't gonna say it, which I know what I mean. If you tamper with my players, I'm gonna come after you. People call them weird and cringe, all of that. That's because they don't understand that body. I know exactly what he meant. You know what I'm saying? Because I come from that. I come from that hostility. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that language when somebody say that. He just letting you know. This ain't no threat or nothing like that. It's just a promise, bro. You do something lame, we gonna have to holler at each other. 50 yard line, you know, the spring meetings. At some point, I'm gonna see you, and you gonna have to answer for it. That's all it is. The other school of thought is what we saw Dabo Swinney do, and we gonna get to that situation in a minute. But Clemson linebacker Luke Ferrelli, he transferred to Clemson. He entered the portal just like everyone else did around January 2nd, and then I believe he accepted and, you know, fully committed to Clemson around January 6th, January 7th. And then all of a sudden he re-enters the portal, and then he signed by Ole Miss, right? And Dabo Swinney wasn't having it. We seen some classic Dabo Swinney rants this past season with the lack of success that they had there in Clemson this year. But this one was a classic one. Dabo Swinney blatantly accused Ole Miss head coach Pete Golding of contacting Ferrelli after he transferred, after he enrolled in classes, and while he was participating in the winter workouts like I tell you guys about all the time. And he categorized it as tampering 101, talking to players who are not in the portal, tampering 201, this is college style now, negotiating deals before the portal opens, and then tampering 301, texting the player while he's enrolled in class and already practicing at another school. So what we got here is pretty much Pete Golding texted him and said, I know you're signed. What's your buyout? Blatantly said that, bro. I know you signed. What's your buyout? That's a problem. But who's going to stop him from doing it? Who's going to stop these other schools from doing it? If we don't have a commission with a commissioner, who's going to stop him? Because the NCAA ain't going to do a damn thing. We already know that. I think this year alone there are 95 documented cases of tampering. We have things going to court, and part of the problem is there's no collective bargaining, right? Because you're not looking at these players as employees, well, they are employees, right? Because we're starting to see that some of this legitimacy of the NIL, and I know President Trump was trying to fix it so they're legitimate people, but it looked like these schools are paying these players and it's pay for play, and that's exactly what we thought the entire time, right? So I think we're in a weird place, right? If Coach Prime and Colorado are able to find players and find them with their, you know, NIL money from, you know, and I like it, you know, accountability, but if the NIL people are giving them the money, how are they able to find? So I think we're starting to really get to the deepness of this situation, and we're starting to see that this truly is pay for play. Dabo, I think, is interesting, and Dabo does things the right way, right? His players all have high GPAs. They all graduate at a really high rate. He's intertransformational coaching. That means he wants to coach and develop. He wants to get them at the high school level, teach them the Clemson way, but not only teach them to be ready for the next level, so for that pro potential, but he also wants to teach them to be better human beings. And I think it really bothers him that he plays the game right and other people don't, right? And he's resisted the portal for years. Like, there was a year back in 2023, he needed a wide receiver. Keon Coleman was there to get, and the school down south down there in Tallahassee was able to get Keon Coleman. Well, Clemson could have really used him, right? But here is the reality. Most coaches can't afford a season like Clemson's 7-6 season this past year. Let's be real. Dabo can survive it, but most cannot, right? So he can play it the right way. And, of course, we looked at the return of production ahead to the season. A lot of us had Clemson high up. I had them winning the whole damn thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought they were that damn good. And the reality of it is most coaches can't do what Dabo can do. He plays it the right way. He barely uses the portal. If he needs a piece, he'll get a piece. But I think he deems the portal as transactional and not transformational. And the portal is very much so transactional. But when you get a player, how you develop them, that can lead to transformational, right? So I think Dabo is one of those guys like, hey, man, I stand on business, right? I'm going to handle things the right way. I'm not going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like like my dog should say, you don't want your producer all in the videos. Dabo not going to do that. He not going to be contacting your players. He ain't going to allow people on his staff to contact your players. But when it's allowed and people do enter the portal, he will. But he's still not going to get a bunch of people because he's still recruiting so well out of high school. So I think that truly leads to a situation where Dabo's like, yo, hey, I play this thing the right way. I got 2 national championships doing things the right way. Why can't you all do things the right way, right? I can't expect how I handle a situation. You know what I'm saying? I can't expect somebody else to handle it the same way. I was raised on different principles than most people were. Somebody try to swing on me, I'm fighting back, bro. Like, a lot of people saw issue with Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. I was about to say Chris Tucker. I didn't see issue with it. He was talking crazy about his wife. He smacked his head out of him. It is what it is. So I know a lot of people say it's just jokes, it's just this, it's just that. But that man been the butt of a lot of jokes for many a years. So I think I was raised in a different environment. Like my parents was like, hey, we understand the school that y'all go to. You know what I'm saying? Y'all better not get in trouble for being disrespectful. Y'all better get good grades. But if you got to fight, y'all got to fight. And me and my brother took that to heart because we was fighting. You know what I'm saying? So I just think when you come from a certain situation and it's a certain amount of loyalty, it's a certain amount of like, you know, it's just certain things I don't do. And just because somebody else do it, I can't get mad at it, even though in the past I have. I'm about principles. I'm about integrity. I'm about loyalty, honesty, decency, and standing up for my family when it's time to stand up for my family. It is what it is at the end of the day. But you can't expect someone else to operate the way that you operate. And I think that's what Dabo is wrong. You can't expect these people to play this game fair. They're under a lot of pressure. Pete Golden is following Lane Kiffin, who had an immense amount of success in Oxford. I need help at linebacker. I'm the head coach. I'm a defensive-minded coach. We need linebacker help. Play the game real, like how Dabo Swinney played. He you know what I'm saying, play it the way he played it, or worry about my job. Hey, my family, he needs this money, so I'm going to play it the way I need to play it. And I think that's the difference and why Dabo looks at it the way he looks at it. And I get it. I understand it because there's things I get frustrated about when people not stand up in situations they should be stand up in. Like, I get it. It's honorable, Dabo, but at the end of the day, it's college football, and college football is a what? It is a what have you done for me lately sport, and it will always be a what have you done for me lately sport. These coaches don't have the same opportunities that you have. Those 2 national championships kept you there, but at the average job, we saw James Franklin, average season, you get fired, right? So it is what it is, man. So I think at the end of the day, Dabo, while you do play the game right, it's honorable. You make sure these players graduate. I bet you parents feel more safe with Dabo Swinney as their head coach than any coach in the country because he's going to do right by them players. He's going to always do right about them players. But don't expect people to play the game the same way you play the game, bro. This ain't Monopoly, and ain't a set of rules, and ain't no rules. It's the Wild Wild West. It's college football. It is what it is. So just adapt, bro, and adjust. You can continue to call people out. Hell, if you got to go to Fran Brown route, go to Fran Brown route. I understand the Fran Brown route. You know what I'm saying? But you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. Let's talk about Curt Cignetti, American made. I had a lot of fun with that last segment, by the way. So Curt Cignetti, outstanding job, brother. Outstanding job. And when I think about Curt Cignetti, I often think about my dad. And I think about me, and I think about our love of gangster movies, whether it's Casinos, Carlito's Way, whether it's The Godfather. One of those movies, though, is Scarface. And when I think about Curt Cignetti, I think about the movie Scarface, and I think about that neon sign that read, "The world is yours." And I think about how that resonated with so many of us. A lot of us wanted to be Tony Montana. A lot of us wanted to be Carlito Brigante, right? It is what it is. A lot of us really wanted to be like that, and we envisioned being a mobster, and we envisioned like, yo, yeah, the world is really ours, and it was almost inspirational. I think at the collegiate level, that's what you have in Curt Cignetti. Curt Cignetti really thought the world was his, right? Like, how do you go into your introductory press conference and say, Google me, I win, and back it all the way up? Curt Cignetti is American-made. That American dream for a lot of people was at the corporate level, coming here, finding success, finding freedom, getting a job, and doing it the right way and feeding your family. For some people, the American dream is, I'm going to get this money by any means, right? But Curt Cignetti, I think his approach to it was, hey, we're going to win by any means. I'm going to get the players that already know my system, that were at JMU. You guys follow me to Bloomington, right? That's going to be the nucleus. That's how we're going to start winning at a high level here. Then I'm going to utilize the transfer portal. I think no other team in the college football playoff used the portal the way that Indiana had used the portal. And it really rechanged my thinking and my ideology on roster construction. It 100% changed my ideology on roster construction. For me, I was an 85 and 15 guy. 85% of your team should come from high school, 15% portal. That's early days of the portal, right? All right, we need a piece here. Let's grab that. We need a piece there. Let's grab that. But that transformational coaching comes from development, and you develop by getting those players out of high school. Now it's not the same. I don't look at it the same. I think when people go to Bloomington, they realize the difference in how Curt Cignetti articulate the accountability that is held, the standard that is set, the standard that needs to be met. I think they get all of that with Curt Cignetti. So they go to their one program, and they may be able to get away with stuff that they were able to do before. You're not going to do that with Curt Cignetti. You're going to be laser focused. You're going to be locked in, right? What'd he say? You guys know more about the mystique of Bama than they do. They just watched the film. He meant that. He meant every word of that. So I believe Curt Cignetti has changed college football. He really has, because what he did, and I know, we want to say it's Cinderella. To me, it's mobster style. It's mafioso-like. Rags to riches-like. When I look at Curt Cignetti and what he was able to do in Bloomington, and this in the Big Ten, you got a big dog in Ohio State. He had back-to-back playoff appearances at Indiana. How many of us thought after that first season, and even though we believe in the coach that Curt Cignetti was, that, hey, man, that might be a sophomore slump, because there's a team like Michigan. We don't know what they're going to do with that Underwood kid, or USC. Hey, man, Malachi Lemon and Jaden Ma'ava was looking damn good there, right? How many of you thought Indiana may have a sophomore slump? I was really one of those people who believed that they was going to have a sophomore slump, only because there were teams that were getting better. I was really hoping that Jonathan Smith and Michigan State could be better this year. I was really hopeful for Northwestern, and Northwestern actually did meet some of my expectations this year. But Curt Cignetti told you all, bro, Google me, I win. And he's still on that. Those are principles that it took. This man said, I'm going to enjoy this one for tomorrow. After that, it's back to work. You got to have that sicko mindset. And that's why when you see him on the sideline, he making those faces, I think he just come from that. That, man, hey, we going to find a way to get it. Whatever your favorite gangster movie is, whether, you're a huge Paid in Full fan, or, you're a huge Godfather fan. I love Scarface. Carlito's Way is probably my favorite gangster film. Only because Carlito Brigante was trying to escape it, but he couldn't escape it. But to me, you get this from the work that you put in. You get it from that expectation. A lot of people set a standard, but they don't walk that standard themselves. I think a lot of times their players saw it, the coaches saw it. He's probably the first person there, last person to leave, and you saw that this guy was a sicko. And sometimes as a player, you'd be like, yo, I want to win for me, but I also want to win for him, because I see the work that he do. I see the fruit of his work. I see the fruit of his hard labor. And I think that's what you get 100% in Curt Cignetti. Outstanding coach, outstanding job. One of the best stories. It's gonna be an outstanding 30 for 30 or a movie one day. But to me, I know we like to go with the greatest Cinderella story, all of that. Now this is a mobster dude. This is a mafioso story. A guy who came in, he saw, and he conquered, bro. Like, he really said, Google me, I win, and he meant that. 16-0 in this here era of college football. I said it before, I said it again. I don't think in this era, 12-team college football playoff, that we will see a team go back-to-back. But if there's a guy that can do it, it's this guy 100%. So this wasn't lucky at all. They did have a couple close contests. I remember the one against Iowa where Mendoza ran back like 50 yards for a safety, if I'm not mistaken. But for me, this is the hard work, determination, and that will to win that nobody else can shut down. And I believe that's why Cignetti was, successful, man. What, he took a 3-9 team? winning a conference record, turned it around immediately. Who gets immediate turnaround like that? That's like you investing and buying a stock and wanting an immediate turnaround. Well, that's what they got, immediate turnaround, and that's why he got an extension after his first year. They're going to give him even more money because he deserves to be, if not the highest paid coach in college football, one of the highest paid coaches in college football. And year one, phenomenal, 8-1 in Big Ten play. Phenomenal. I'm like, whoa, that's going to be hard to top. Yeah, heartbreaking loss versus Notre Dame. I think he kind of learned, okay, we need to go up another level. Curtis work was phenomenal, but we need a guy that can take us and propel us to the next level. We got that in Fernando Mendoza. And guess what? I know a lot of people like Fernando Mendoza. I like Fernando Mendoza as well. But that kid that got Joshua from TCU, I ain't seen weapons like this. And he going to have Nick Marsh on the outside. Hoover may be statistically more successful than both Curtis Work and Fernando Mendoza. I want you guys to be prepared for that now. And they entered this season 20th in the AP poll. I think a lot of them was just like, all right, it's a cool story last year. You're not going to do that again. And he did it again, right? And he owns the only 10-win seasons in Indiana history. To me, that's crazy. That's crazy. And when we started to look at the mystique and, them beating Ohio State in a conference championship, in my entire time, and the reason why I picked Indiana, I wasn't right a lot this year. I did pick Indiana to win that game. I was like, Ohio State hasn't been to the deep water. Indiana has, and Indiana will take them to the deep water. And then they took Ohio State to the deep water, took Alabama to the woodshed at the Rose Bowl. It was a beatdown. You saw Fernando Mendoza on the sideline like Michael Jordan with his tongue out, bro. Like, that's what we seen. It was a complete beatdown of a program that's had so much mystique, so much aura. It's like, when Alabama, you watching Alabama walk into the stadium, it's Alabama. They ain't feel like Alabama. So, Curt Cignetti didn't do this with a highly rated guys. He just got guys who believed in themselves, guys who had that dog mentality like he does, and they was able to figure it out and execute at a very high level. So, Curt Cignetti is truly American-made. And when you Google him now, it will say national champion. And I just can't believe he did it at Indiana, at a place that resources weren't plentiful. But it's so impressive how resources might not be plentiful then, but they're plentiful now because you have a guy to believe in. So the donors and the boosters are now wanting to find money because, I believe in this guy 100%. I think this guy is truly incredible. So now when people see the results, you can talk a good game all you want to. Everybody does that. Oh, how good this team is heading into the season. But at the end of the day, your record is the only thing that tells the truth, right? So I think now they see it, and now Indiana is a hotbed for players wanting to go there. And the craziest thing is, to me, I think when you think about it, is that Curt Cignetti is able to do this, and now you're looking at a place like Oregon, who probably would have landed some of these recruits. Ohio State or Michigan, who would have landed some of these portal guys. They want to go to Bloomington because they want to play for that sicko head coach, who I like to call a Grinch. They want to play for him. So I think that is absolutely incredible what he has done. He's truly American-made, brother. National champion, Big Ten champion, 18 Coach of the Year awards, and he's deserving of it, man. Curt Cignetti is truly American-made. Shout out to him, man. Well-deserved, truly. Let's talk about this On 3 Top 25. So we're looking at the original Top 25 that they had. Of course, they've updated it since. I believe ESPN put out one. I was talking to the fellas to see if and shout out to them. We did an outstanding job with our poll this year. And I was saying, if y'all want to put out a way too early one or do one post-spring like we always do. So we probably will do one post-spring. If they want to do it, put out a way too early, we can. So we'll go over there. So I'll list their top 25, and then I'll talk to you about the things that I hate, of course, and the things I like. It'll be reactionary, as always. So at 25, we got Arizona. 24, Florida. 23, Virginia Tech. 22, Houston. 21, Iowa. 20, Tennessee. Shout out to Tennessee. That team in Knoxville performed way better than I had anticipated heading into the season. 19, USC. 18, Washington. 17, Bama. Wow. 16, Utah. 15, Ole Miss. 14, Penn State. 13, BYU. 12, LSU. 11, Michigan. 10, Oklahoma. I like that. 9, Miami. 8, Texas A&M. 7, Texas Tech. 6, Oregon. 5, Indiana. 4, Notre Dame. 3, Texas. 2, Georgia. 1, Ohio State. You guys know I'm going to have some issues with it, as I said when I introduced this segment. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to talk about it. So I gave you the top 25. Here's some of the things I like. But we're going to start off with the things that I hate, right? So if Clemson Tigers are not on this list because of last season's performance, then neither should Penn State be on this list. Why aren't they there? And what are Penn State like? 14, brother? I smoking good though, and I know Matt Campbell. I'm a believer in Matt Campbell. After I questioned him a few years ago, and he answered the call in that 2024 season, even though they didn't win the conference, you could just see that that was probably one of his best coaching years since he had been there. And he's got a lot of players from Iowa State, and a lot of people were talking about that. It was like 14, 15, maybe even 16 players that they took from Ames that is headed up there to Happy Valley. But 14, Penn State does not deserve to be in the top 25. They don't, based off of what we seen last year, based on the coaching change. Hey, maybe he can have instant success. And everybody loves Penn State, so if you see it throughout the first couple of weeks of the season, you say, hell yeah, they should be in the top 25. But 14 is ridiculous. There's no way on God's green earth it should be at 14. No way. No way. I don't get that one. I don't know. Maybe it was some Penn State fans that had a few votes. Maybe a few Penn State alumni. I'm not sure. They shouldn't be that high. Indiana Hoosiers are the best team in the country, not because they just won the national championship, and they're going to lose a plethora of talent, but they got active in the portal, and they're getting myriads of talent. And I believe we want to see Josh Hoover at Bloomington be the best variation of himself. I think the interceptions will be turned down. He's going to throw for a lot of yards. I believe he may have a liver arm than Fernando Mendoza, maybe just a personal opinion of mine. But I think that kid is going to be incredible. And then you add a stud like Nick Marsh at wideout. To me, that is incredible. And Indiana should be number one. That coaching staff don't bet against them. You just only giving Curt Cignetti more ammunition. We just talked about Curt Cignetti being American-made. I'm not sure why anybody would do that, in all honesty. So, really aggressive. Everybody like to call it a Cinderella story. I like to call it a mafioso story. But there's no way Indiana should not be number one in the country on this list. And at number 2, I'm comfortable with Georgia, but it might be Texas, just based on everything they've been able to do. I talked about this a little bit earlier. I think Arch Manning got really comfortable in the system later in the season, but it was a little bit too late. I think with the additions that they made, they had the inability to run the rock last year. I think they addressed some of the interior offensive line, and they also got some portal gets at tackles as well. Look at the pieces that they add. They'll have a 1-2 punch at running back. They add Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman has a serious, legitimate chance if he has the production that I believe he can have in this system, because I believe it's a wide receiver friendly system. It's an RPO system that's going to get him a lot of touches. I think he can compete with Jeremiah Smith for wide receiver number 1. You may disagree with that. I think some people feel like it's here. Maybe this type of distance between Cam Coleman and Jeremiah Smith. I'm just saying it's here, and that if Cam Coleman can do what he need to do, we can get here, right? So, yeah, I wouldn't be mad if Texas at number 2, but they had Georgia at number 2. I'm cool with that as well. Like I said, Raleigh Brown, Hollywood Smothers, you can't be mad at what they was able to do. Georgia deserves to live in the top 5. It is what it is. Everything that Kirby Smart has done with that program, they lose pieces, they replenish pieces. Even though this past year, their defense didn't seem like a normal Georgia defense, I'm sure they'll button those things up in this offseason, but they deserve to live in the top 25. That's how I feel about that. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and maybe this is me being upset at them because they'll have, if they're a top 12 team, they're automatically in the playoff, and I absolutely hate that. But to me, they don't deserve to be a top 5 team. They're not a top 5 team. I gotta see it. And I know if they had a strong end to the season, they decided not to play in a bowl game. And I supported that decision not to play in a bowl game. But top 5, I think it's a little steep. We got some really good teams here. Oregon should be in the top 5. They have the roster. They have the infrastructure, which is really important. They got the backing of Nike CEO and founder, Phil Knight. Like, the money is there, best quarterback room in the country. I think when we look at Oregon and what they're able to do, I think right now I would have them ahead of Notre Dame. And I know Notre Dame's going to look really good next year. Their schedule is probably softer than we've seen in recent memory, not playing USC next year. But for me, there's no way you have Notre Dame ahead of Oregon. You had Notre Dame ahead of Indiana. What in the hell are you smoking, right? So, things that I like. I'm not mad at Texas Tech being 7. I think they will be the overwhelming favorite to win the Big 12. Not mad at Oklahoma at 10. I really like what they're doing down there. They just got a new AD. We know Jim Nagy is their general manager. Brent Venables is their head coach. And I think it'll be interesting to see what they look like this upcoming season, but I like them. I think LSU at 12 is way too low. They just had the number 1 portal class in the country. Lane Kiffin, we buy into his system. We believe in everything that Lane Kiffin can do. Make no mistake about it. There's no doubt in my mind how great of a coach Lane Kiffin is. I know people like to say he can't turn a hoe into a housewife. A lot of people believe he mishandled the Oxford situation at Ole Miss. I don't believe he mishandled it at all. At the end of the day, they told the man he couldn't coach the team that he coached all the way to get into the college football playoff, and people think he mismanaged it. I don't think he mismanaged it at all. At the end of the day, he's moving on. I think they all get it. Ole Miss is a competitor. We're in the same conference. We all fighting for, who's going to be the strongest in that conference. So, I'm not mad at the way he handled it at all. If Sam Levitt and Lane Kiffin can get on the same page, if Lane Kiffin can have Sam Levitt locked in, look out. That's all I'm going to say about that. Bravo to On3 having Virginia Tech in the top 25. Have you not seen the turnaround of that roster? And we knew James Franklin was going to do it. I think they were 124th when he arrived. I think they're top 25 now. That's roster construction, to be able to mold your roster, to be able to utilize the transfer portal, to do it, to be able to utilize players that you are familiar with, to come there. Virginia Tech can absolutely win the ACC next year. That might sound like hyperbole to a lot of people. I truly believe in that. I think when you get kicked down, there's two ways to handle it. You either lay down or you get back up. James Franklin is the type of guy that's going to get back up. And you say, all right, you thought you could replace me. And there's going to be a secret competition between him and Penn State for the rest of his life. But I think he's going to be really successful at Virginia Tech. And to be able to secure Brent Pryce, defensive coordinator, head coach there, was fired as head coach, but him and his family get to stay in Blacksburg. I think he's an outstanding defensive coach. Make no mistake about it. He really is. So I like what they're doing. I talked about Texas Tech already. Houston Cougars can give Texas Tech a run for their money in the Big Ten next year. Texas Tech should be the favorite. I said that earlier. But Willie Fritz, Connor Wakeman may be in Heisman talks. Don't be surprised with it, because I think we all this past season seen that Connor Wakeman, my dog Nino is a huge Connor Wakeman fan. I think the kid that we thought that was about to be coming out of high school, also Jalen, is a huge Connor Wakeman fan as well. I think that's who we wanted when we seen Connor Wakeman. He had a lot of success this year. I'm really convinced with them. And then Arizona. Remember back in 2023, there was a mysterious team, like I think they finished the season either 11-2 or 10-2 in Arizona, and it was like one of the darlings of the Pac-12 in the Pac-12's last season. Pac-12, welcome back. Like that made some. Noah Fafita, he had a down year in 24. I think a lot of that, they had Tetora McMillan. We got to feed him. You know what I'm saying? I think last year they were just able to, who's open, who's getting the ball, we're going to share the sugar. I think Noah Fafita is going to be one of those guys you want to watch heading into this year as well. So I love the fact that On3 had them in the top 25 as well. It's too early for me and the Florida Gators to be in the top 25. Huge fan of John Slimmerall, but there are some things that need to be addressed there. I think he'll bring, I hate to say this because Billy Napier was such an outstanding recruiter during his tenure in Gainesville, but I think at times he's a little bit too soft of a coach. I think there was great opportunity the game that DJ Lagway threw 5 interceptions versus LSU. He just got to walk to the sideline freely. He needed to be cussed out a few times, so pull from that game, in my personal opinion. And what's up with the Alabama disrespect? Like, you ever had those conversations with yourself, like, is it me or am I, you know what I'm saying? Am I bugging? I feel like it's me, though. Like, Alabama shouldn't be 17. I know they're going to lose some production. I know a lot of people don't believe in Kalen DeBoer, right? I hear you. But, hey, they look terrible versus Indiana, but they did win a game versus Oklahoma in the playoff. Down 17. I know that isn't enough in Tuscaloosa. You guys had the great Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time, as your head coach, and you're used to a standard. And he hasn't been able to establish that standard yet. Give it time. I know they looked awful in the conference championship. They did have some big wins during the regular season, but 17 to me is too low, right? And I know a lot of people believe in BYU and what they're able to do. I'm cool with it. Those 2 losses to Texas Tech, I wasn't cool with last year. So we'll see, right? But I do think Alabama's a little too low. Iowa deserves to be in everybody's top 25. What Kirk Ferentz is able to do in that conference year in and year out, somehow they're always there in the thick of things, right? And even when you say, okay, my apologies, I got the hiccups. Even when you say they lost too much production, Phil Parker, the defensive coordinator, always figures it out. Worst time ever to get hiccups. So that's my take on their top 25. We're going to move to this next segment. Collective bargaining. I'm going to take some water. All right. That probably lasts for like another 45. All right. So CBA. What is everybody's thoughts on collective bargaining, right? And I also forgot to mention that USC, I'm super high on USC heading into next year. What's everybody's thoughts on collective bargaining? I believe you need it at the collegiate level. I think we need an established set of rules that sets a standard. You're not going to get it from the NCAA or Charlie Baker. You're not. I've been a huge fan of a commission and a commissioner, right? But we do need collective bargaining at the collegiate level because the amateurism aspect, I think, is really hurting. I think it's really hurting situations here because you look at the Darian Mensah situation, you say, well, okay, you can say he can't, there's a restraining order and he can't transfer. How can you say that when the respects to amateurism, right? If he can't transfer, so if I was going to college and I didn't want to go to that school no more, I could just unenroll. But I guess because of his contract, he got, you know what I'm saying? So we need collective bargaining where there's going to be things that coaches want, that's kind of one extreme. There's going to be things that players want, that's one extreme. I didn't like the era where the coaches had the most power and Urban Meyer was able to do to Cam Newton what he did to Cam Newton. And I don't like this era where the players have too much power. There needs to be collective bargaining. There has to be something to where the standards are set. We follow these deadlines. It is what it is, right? And we've seen it. Like roughly a month ago, a lot of the ADs met in Las Vegas for their annual meetings. So we'll see more of those during the spring meetings. I know some of them are in Destin, Florida. And they're having these conversations. And Jeremiah Dickey, Boise State Athletic Director, said he did not feel proud of what college sports had become and admitted that collective bargaining may be the solution. Collective bargaining is 1,000% the solution. And there has to be CBA. Absolutely has to be CBA. I think these athletic directors see only two realistic paths forward now. Either Congress saves them or with an antitrust exception. We seen, President Trump like, hey, man, I want to save college sports. Because we all see the semantic issues with it. We love what we see in March Madness for college basketball, right? But damn, when the last time you Googled a player that's been in college for 4 years and you see 4 different team uniforms on it? I challenge you to do it now because you'll see myriads of them with like 3 or 4 different jerseys, bro. You know what I'm saying? If you're a senior or super senior, you got 4 jerseys. And college football is not quite the same, but it's similar, right? So we do need collective bargaining. I absolutely do. I know the athletic directors are pissed off, coaches are pissed off, universities are pissed off, but we need some type of resolve. And I feel like everybody has an idea, but when are we going to get to a resolution? We can all address the myriad of problems with college football, but we have to come towards some solution. I think CBA may be the only way to do it. But the respect to amateurism, I think, is the hardest thing to kind of figure out when you're dealing with this situation, and that's the most heartbreaking thing. So Danny White, who is the athletic director at Tennessee, he believes that waiting on Congress isn't the strategy. I think a lot of these guys just want CBA, to be honest with you. I really do. I think we're looking at remember the antitrust thing that happened roughly a year ago? We need so much collective bargaining. Like last year I presented, hey, maybe we need an NIL salary cap because some of these teams are overly spending, right? And then you have a team like Rutgers who's in debt. And hopefully we get an opportunity to talk about that. Whole reaction Monday tonight at 8:15 p.m. So I'm not going to say too much about that. But I think we need collective bargaining because it removes 100% the idea of amateurism. The amateurism aspect of it, the student part of it, is the part that's ruining everything. We say, well, they are students. They're going to school. Because in the past, they're students. They're going to school for free. That's how they're compensated. You know what I'm saying? They're students. They're student athletes. Remember that verbiage we get thrown around so much? But I think when you look at it here, I think we need to start looking at these guys. Once contracts are getting involved and people need to honor those contracts. We remember the Caden Proctor situation from a few years ago. Not happy at Bama. People are in his DMs, goes to Iowa City, right, during the early transfer window portal, right, and then goes back to Tuscaloosa during the late transfer portal window, right? So I think we need to start treating these guys. There should be an exception. We know they're in school, right? But these athletes need to be treated as employees. If they're being paid to do a job, if you want to hold these things that they're signing as contractual and we want to debate these things in court, they need to be treated as employees, not students. And I know they're there to go to a school, but they also make these schools a lot of money. So we need to start respecting them and looking at them as employees, right? And I know these realities going to make a lot of people uncomfortable, but the fact of the matter is, this is the truth. These students or these athletes aren't employees for your university. I know we want to hide behind those NIL paywalls, but the fact of the matter is these schools are playing these kids, right? So I think when you look at this, we 1,000% need collective bargaining. We need to start treating these guys as employees. That way we can start holding them accountable when the contractual agreements aren't met. Then you could take that to court with collective bargaining. I think that's why 1,000% we need collective bargaining. And we saw athletes.org released a 35-page proposal on outlining what a collective bargaining framework could look like. And I think that's pretty dope. So in a later episode, maybe next week or the week after, we'll visit that, and then we'll try to improve it as well ourselves. I think that this Darian Mensah situation is going to really rear its ugly head. Remember the Demond Williams Jr. situation where he wanted to leave Washington, wanted to leave Seattle and go to Baton Rouge to play with Lane Kiffin and LSU. And it's like, you can try that, but you just signed this contract, buddy boy. You got to obligate this contract. How? If you're treating him like a student and not an employee? How? He went back, I guess, I don't know if it was the threat of being sued or his team or the people he trusts telling him, now you should probably go back to Washington. We even have an epidemic of players who left and entered the portal and wanted to go back and can't go back. We got a lot of things that need to be addressed, a lot of things that need to be fixed. And I think one of the surefire ways to start to get some answers is starting to set some standards. And when you set standards, you're then able to hold people accountable is CBA. I think we need CBA 1,000%. And to me, there's no mistake about it. And I don't question it at all. I said it last year. I said it this year. College football needs CBA. These athletes aren't students anymore. Yes, they do go to you attend your university, but a lot of them are attending to play a sport, right? Collective bargaining is the way to go. I think you need that 100%. Let's talk about the season that was, man. What an outstanding season for 2025 college football. We are not worthy. I continue to say that. It was a lot of great upsets this past year. When I think about this season, I think about week 0. I get the strangest butterflies. I don't know if this happens to anybody else. When you love a sport so much, and it starts to become real, early July, right? We did a whole media day sweep. We were at Big 12 Media Days, then we were at ACC Media Days, and we were at American Media Days. We're definitely going back to Big 12 this year. Can't promise you guys ACC, but I can promise you we will be at the Pac-12 or whatever, the new Pacific Conference Media Days this year. And I want to go to a couple more, because we were invited to all of the Group of 6 Media Days. So I would like to go to them because of the access. We got to talk to so many coaches, so many players. When I tell you people were fighting to come talk to us, because I think Sirius Satellite Radio was the only other people on Radio Row, and then we were live. Parents coming to talk to us and thanking us, and Blake Horvath mom gave us a goat with the Navy emblem on it. It was super dope. But this college football season was so special to me. One, because one of the things I want to always do, I never really got the opportunity to, was just cover this sport almost full time. Now, I was able to do that. Since April, I was able to do I did over 100 episodes since April. I think that was phenomenal. Of Governor College Football alone, that doesn't even include the other shows that I'm on. So that was special to have a chance to do that, to be able to figure out a way to be, financially independent without working that traditional 9 to 5. I was able to do it. I figured it out. I mastered it. And I'm so excited for this next season. But let's talk a little bit about 2025, the season that was. I do think about week 0. I think about the game in Dublin between Iowa State and Kansas State. Had high expectations for both teams, and ultimately Iowa State was able to win the game. But I got butterflies during those games. I was down there in Atlanta for the game because we went to the MEAC SWAC Challenge. That was we were at a game week 0. We also got invited to our FCS game that week 2 between, I think it was Davis, it was Mercer and somebody we got invited to. So we did go to the MEAC SWAC Challenge. But I remember just sitting on my dog Moon couch and his lovely girlfriend Lotus couch watching the game. Yo, college football is back, bro. Like, I remember just being there, and we watched that game, and I think we all took a midday nap. You get older, you appreciate midday naps. I'm a midday nap guy. And then it was boom, let's beeline to the Mid-X-Wack Challenge. So to be able to open up week 0 like that, I think was impressive. And to be at a game week 0, it's truly what dreams are made of. And, you know, when you want to do something full-time, that's what it's about. And then week 1 happens, and then we get August 30th, right? Florida State, right, out of nowhere. Everybody's like, they're going to get killed. Quarterback's running that mouth. That's going to give Kalen DeBoer and company bulletin board material. And when I tell you Florida State stomped a mud hole on Alabama, they put the quit in Alabama. Alabama wanted no smoke with Florida State that game. I was like, yeah. And they fresh off of a 2-10 season, by the way. I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, that team in Tallahassee is back. I'm like, oh, man, Alabama is terrible, right? Those are our feelings on August 30th. And we were like, this is about to be one hell of a season, right? And then August 28th, we get another one. Thursday night game. USF beat mighty Boise State. When you look at the class of the G5, G6 now, Boise State has been that class. They have been the standard for a very long time. And USF, Byron Brown, off of injury last year, right? Alex Golish looking to set a standard, and the physicality that team played with, and they beat the hell. They put BTA, as we like to say, to Boise State on August 28th, and it was truly impressive to watch. Can't lie to you. And then one of my favorite games of the year happened September 6th. It was so dope watching Brandon Walker, watching that clip when Mississippi State defeated Arizona State team who was just in the college football playoff last year. Honestly, could have beat Texas in that college football playoff game last year. But when they upset Arizona State, it was just like, wow, this is about to be one of those special ones. It seemed like every week now we're starting to have these special victories, man. We had the August 28th one, the Thursday night game, and then we had Florida State defeating Alabama. And then a week later, September 6th, we had Mississippi State defeat Arizona State. And you slowly start to say to yourself, oh, this is about to be a special one. Then one of the weirdest things in the world happened October 4th. I believe I was at a Merlin game on this day. And when UCLA upset Penn State, everything in my world changed. I feel like as an analyst, as a fan of the sport, I'm like, what in the hell just happened, right? Neuheisel got picked up, lifted all off the field. I'm like, this UCLA team, who lost earlier in the season to New Mexico, by the way, in a terrible loss, like, and people like, yo, wow, Nico's looking bad. And then they upset Penn State. And to me, it was just unbelievable. It was truly unbelievable. And, Tim Skipper was a head coach, but, of course, Jerry Neuheisel, a lot of people just remember him on the sideline, babyface offensive coach, coordinator. And I don't know, it was impressive. So you're starting to see this thing really building, and we're getting something special with this season. Like I say, weeks like 1 through 7 were truly underrated. Truly underrated. Like, we even got the U back, right? We've been fighting for that for very long. To see how locked in Mario Cristobal, and I've questioned Mario Cristobal in the past, and I'll be honest with you, I really have. I thought there was opportunities in Eugene, still think there's opportunities in Coral Gables, but to see him go on the road and beat Texas A&M, right? Neutral site game, they was able to beat Ole Miss, and you're looking at this team and say, whoa, where did this come from, right? Beat Ohio State before they beat Ole Miss. And I was like, there's no way to beat Ole Miss with the tempo that Ole Miss runs at. And just an outstanding season. Of course, Curt Cignetti and company won the national championship. And we had, the College Football Playoff Committee, people upset that Notre Dame didn't make it. Notre Dame decided not to be in a bowl game. Just a myriad of upsets this year. 2025 was truly the season that was. I put it up there. It's high up there. I got a second after the story 2007 season. Great show today. Happy to be back. Sorry, I've been gone, but if you follow me on social media, make sure you do at Leverett_KT on Twitter. You'll see I'm active. I go live a lot. I'm going live again at 8:15 with the dogs, with the Overreaction Monday gang. Can't wait for that. So we'll be live again on this channel Wednesday night, 6 p.m. same time. And I'm also live tomorrow, 6 p.m. over on at the CFB Nation with my show, College Football Nation. So, as I always like to say, there are no more victories in a sport that survive and advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. Until next time, you all take care. I'll see you all at 8:15 p.m. tonight. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ
Great defensive minds. They have to be better on that side of the ball.